Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our college football predictions with week 2. Last week I went 6-4, which isn't which is at least above 500 or whatever. But last week was for opening week, kind of all over the place. I feel like no one separated themselves from being a contender and being a pretender. Well, one school separated itself as a pretender, Clemson. But anyway, it's a new week, and this week I think we have like 16 or 17 games we're predicting amongst Power 5 schools. But I will say I do want to highlight Ole Miss. They're not on here. They're not on these predictions, but I want to highlight Ole Miss and Tulane, which is a top 25 matchup. And I do think Ole Miss will make it a very, very close win. And Appalachian State and North Carolina. Because if you don't know, last year, those two schools, they combined for almost 124 points, which in Carolina won. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Carolina to win because they're in Chapel Hill for this game. And that's that. So now on to the real predictions. We're going to start off with the Fighting Illini of Illinois taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. And both teams got their wins against low-name schools, but Illinois' win came very, very closer than what you think. And because of that, and the fact that Kansas is favored by 3 points, I'm going to take the Kansas Jayhawks to win this game. Next we have is Vanderbilt taking on Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Now Vanderbilt, they are 2-0. And if the season would have ended last week, they will be in the SEC championship game. Let that sink in. But last week they played Alabama A&M and won after taking a first half slow start. As for Wake Forest, they won their game against Elon. Did suffer a near second half hiccup before pulling away late. And for this game, it's actually going to be more closer than what you think. Wake's favored by 10 points, but like I said, this one's going to be a little closer than what the bettors are thinking. But I'm still going to take Wake Forest, but I will not take the 10.5 points that they're giving them. Next we have is Nebraska taking on the University of Colorado in Boulder. Now Nebraska, the king of heartbreaks, suffered yet another heartbreaking loss last week against Minnesota, where Jeff Sims threw 3 interceptions, might have been 3 or 4, but one of them cost them the game. And then we have the University of Colorado, who got a huge win over the TCU Horned Frogs, who, if you remember last year, the Horned Frogs made the national title game. Now everyone's hyping up Colorado, saying that they're back. I still want to see them play their Pac-12 games for me to confirm that, but they did impress me. And looking at this game, yeah, I'm definitely taking Colorado to win. Taking Coach Prime in this game. Next we have is the Purdue Boilermakers taking on the Virginia Tech Hokies in Hokie Stadium. And if last week, well, Virginia Tech got their win against Old Dominion, but Purdue, they lost to Fresno State in their home opener. And right now they're giving Virginia Tech 3 points in this game. And this one is actually a toss-up. But because they're in Lane Stadium and those folks up there love to enter Sandman, I'm going to take Virginia Tech to win this game. I think Virginia Tech wins a close one at that. Next we have is the University of Notre Dame traveling to Raleigh to take on the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Notre Dame, in their 2 games, they have yet to surrender a touchdown. Yes, granted they played Navy and Tennessee Tech, but that is still impressive. and I thoroughly expect them to give up their first. As for NC State, in their opening game, yes, they won 24-14, but against UConn, I was expecting a little better from them, if you ask me. So, picking a winner, yeah, I'm going with Notre Dame to win. I think Notre Dame wins this one pretty easily, especially if State plays like how they played against UConn. Next we have is the Utah Utes traveling to Baylor to take on the Baylor Bears. And last week, Utah, despite not having their starting quarterback, they found a way to beat Florida. And they looked kind of convincing doing it. Meanwhile, Baylor, they lost to Texas State, and I think their starting quarterback, he got hurt during that game. So that's going to make this a lot worse than it seems. These two schools, they're future Big 12 rivals, but I think Utah will get the road win because Baylor looks very, very uncertain, and it's only week 2. Next we have is Iowa traveling to take on Iowa State, rivalry week. Iowa, they barely beat Utah State 24-14. Not a good sign for that offensive coordinator because I read some of the terms of his contract that if they average at least 21 points a game and they win 7 games, he could get his contract. He'll be eligible for a contract renewal. But that's starting to look a little shaky. As for Iowa State, I don't really know what they did last week. They probably won. But anyway, the line for this game is they're giving Iowa 4 points. And I don't know. Iowa State won last year, and I think Iowa will get their revenge. I'm going with the road team and taking the Hawkeyes to win. But I'm not expecting a lot of points, though. Then we have Texas A&M traveling on to Miami to take on the Hurricanes. Now, last year when these two schools met up, it was a low-scoring snooze fest where and in reality, both schools end up struggling throughout the year. But this year feels a little different. One of these schools going to look more improved. The other one look like they shouldn't belong in a college football field. And for me, this one's another one of those toss-up games. Like, I want to pick Texas A&M to win, but for some reason, I have a hunch that Miami will win, probably on a last-second field goal to get this game. So I'm gonna roll with the Hurricanes to win, but I will not be surprised if Texas A&M pull off the W. Then we have a Power 5 debut for the University of Cincinnati taking on the Pitt Panthers. Cincinnati, even though this is not their first Big 12 game, this is their first game as a member of the Power 5. And looking at this game, I'm just gonna pick really quickly because I don't really have much to say about either school, other than that Pitt, they blew out who they blew out. So picking the winner, I'm gonna roll with. I think Pitt's the home team here, so I'm just gonna probably roll with the home team for this game. I'm gonna roll with Pitt to win. Because they now have Phil Jurkovec, the former Boston College quarterback. That much I know. Next we have is the Oregon Ducks traveling to Texas take on Texas Tech. Now, these are two different teams. On one side, one team put up 81 points in a game, and the other side lost a heartbreaker to Wyoming. Now, if this game would have took place around, let's say, 10 years ago, this point, this probably would be the first college game where both teams would score 100 points. If this would have took place 10 years ago with their offenses. But now, well, one team still got a good offense. The other one's shaky. And if you don't know, I just found this out, but the starting quarterback for Texas Tech, Tyler Shaw, is it? He used to play for Oregon in 2020. So I know he wants to play get back against them, but Oregon, they're just too good. And I think they win in convincing fashion. Next we have is the University of Arizona taking on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So get out your cowbells ready, because it's going to be a loud atmosphere. Now, I don't know. Again, this is another one of those games where I don't really know much about each team. I'm just going to roll with the home team and the fact that they're favored by 10 points. I think Mississippi State will win, but I think Arizona will make it very, very close. They're better than what people think. In fact, the Pac-12 is having a very strong year already. And speaking of the Pac-12 having a strong year, the University of Wisconsin traveling to Washington State to take on the Cougars. And yeah, I'm going to take Washington State to win this one. They're at home. It's their home opener. And I'm feeling pretty good about this school. But Wisconsin is favored by, despite Wisconsin being favored by 6.5 points, I think this one could go any direction. This is one of those games where it's a toss up. Then we have Oklahoma State taking on Arizona State in Arizona. Now, Oklahoma State is favored by 3.5. Arizona State, I'm not expecting them to have a good team this year. So because of that, I am going to take the road team and take Oregon State on the road. And then we have Stanford taking on USC, which could be the final time these two teams will see each other in the foreseeable future, as Stanford is going to join the ACC and USC is set to join the the Big Ten, as part of the dismantling of the Pac-12. And that's kind of sad. But USC, they look like they're going to be one of the best offenses again. Stanford, they actually looked impressive in their showing against Hawaii. And USC is favored by almost 30 points in this game. So while I will go ahead and take USC to win this game, I'm probably not going to take that spread. That's just me. And then quickly we have Auburn taking on the University of California. Auburn's favored by 6.5. I'm taking Auburn to win this game on the road. But Cal will give them a fight. And this leads us to the game of the week. The University of Texas traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama, and ESPN has reminded us about this game at least 50 times during the Monday night showing of Clemson and Duke. I mean, I was very, very annoyed by the constant reminder of this game. I'm just ready for this to get played and over with. Texas, okay, they overcame a slow start against Rice. They ended up getting the win, but it left us with more questions than answers for Quinn Ewers. As for Alabama, they pretty much answered most of the questions they have. Jalen Milroe, who started the game, he had 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. First Alabama quarterback with such stats. Not even Jalen Hurts can say he done that. So for this game, it's going to be in Alabama. The environment's going to be hot. I remember in the preseason when I looked at all the other predictors, all the people who done their predictions, a lot of people said Texas will go on the road and win this game. But for me, after what I saw last week, they're just fools for believing that. And I want to see Texas. I need to see it before I believe it. I think Alabama wins this game, but I think Texas will not. They will not. They'll give them a nice little run for their money like they did last year. That's all I'll say. And on that note, that concludes the college football predictions for week 2. Tell me what I think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.